Well, good morning, everybody. This is Jennifer Motzinger, the Executive Vice President for the Tampa Bay Builders Association. Thanks for joining us this morning. Although today's meeting is virtual, we are planning lots of in-person events. Hope you will join us tonight for our first one. It's the Building Blocks on the Rocks. It's a casual networking event. It's going to be posted at Armature Works, so hopefully you will see us there and I will see you there at 5 o'clock. And the first round of drinks is on me because of our generous sponsors, our presenting sponsor, which is Florida Water Star Program and MS International, RJ Kilty, BGE, Security, National Mortgage. Thank you all so much for your support of the organization. So Robin Grantham is with the Water Star program, and she is joining us today to share with us a little bit about the program that is going to get builders bigger bucks. Robin, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining us. Tell us about this wonderful program.
I'd be more than happy to, but first I just want to make sure, are you able to see my presentation?
We are.
Awesome. Well, my name is Robin Grantham with the Water Management District. I've presented the Florida Water Star program before to the Builders Association, and I'm happy to be here. We are offering rebates of $1,000 a home in partnership with Tampa Bay Water. If you're not familiar with Florida Water Star, please take a moment to visit floridawaterstar.com to learn more. But in a nutshell, it's a certification program for new homes that meet specific water efficiency criteria inside and outside the home. My slide isn't moving forward. Sorry. Just a little bit of a technical difficulty. There we go. As builders, you are well aware that Florida's population is definitely increasing. You've seen this map from me before, but it really plots out where we're seeing that 75% increase in population within the next 50 years. And obviously this is going to require a significant increase on water demand. So what we're working on already is drilling deeper into the aquifer, as well as even water reuse projects. But a key element to this is conserving the water that we have today, which is why the district partnered with Tampa Bay Water to offer the rebates of $1,000 a home. So that being said, I'm sorry, I don't understand what's going on with my slides, why they're not moving. But that being said, what we're trying to do is get these rebates out for more water efficient construction. However, throughout the state of Florida, where there are areas that we're seeing significant population growth, specifically within like the next 5 years, they've already started writing Florida Water Star into ordinances requiring certification or criteria to obtain those certificates of occupancy. And these rebates, what we're trying to do within the Tampa Bay area is not require ordinances take place, but rather work with the builders through incentivizing it. So that's where these rebates come into play. We've got over 11,000 rebates, just shy of $12 million worth of funds. We've had these rebates around now for over a year, and unfortunately, I've had zero participation from any builder. What that means is at the end of this fiscal year, I'll have to go before both boards and report that we haven't been able to distribute any of the funds. This could potentially increase the likelihood that over the next 10 years, we're not going to have that funding available. I've had virtual meetings, a lot of correspondence with many of your members who seemed highly interested. I'm not sure if Florida Water Star just fell off the radar, but please follow back up with me because I want to be able to report that you as builders want to use these funds and participate in the program. If we distribute all of this funding, we're going to be saving over 1.5 million gallons of water every single day. So that is definitely going to help decrease the likelihood of those alternative water supplies. My thought was maybe there could be concerns from builders about this rebate process. Is this really complex? Are you going to have a lot of bureaucracy? Very simple. First step, just reach out to me. We'll make sure that you're purchasing water from one of the member governments and using potable for irrigation. Second step, we'll review the Florida Water Star criteria, and I'll come out to your construction site, let you know what changes need to be made. Third is we'll set you up with an inspector. If you already have an inspection company doing your blower door testing or Energy Star, we'll take your current inspector and train them for Florida Water Star. So you don't have to switch up companies at all. And then the last step, which is the best of all, unlike other rebate programs, you only submit an application one time online to Tampa Bay Water. That just includes your contact information and your W-9 form. After that, there's no invoicing. Your inspector inspects the home, submits documents online. And once that home is electronically certified, you will receive a check in the mail for $1,000 within 30 days of certification. And it's constant like that. Within every 30 days, every home is $1,000. If you've got any questions about this program, here's my contact information, and I look forward to seeing you at tonight's event. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. And she's right. You know, Hillsborough County, if you have not been paying attention, they're entertaining an ordinance right now related to this program. And I really appreciate, Robin, you coming out and talking to us a little bit more about that. I am going to follow up with you and see if I can be more of a resource to connect you with builders. And shoot, if we can partner and offer training at our offices or whatever that looks like, we're definitely happy to do that. So thank you again.
Thank you.
So today, guys, you will be hearing from a lot of experts, and no doubt you may have questions. So please, please use the Q&A feature and write those down, and we will answer those at the end of the program. You can also use the chat feature to say hello or offer any comments about the program. So we appreciate you participating. You know, we are so blessed to be in this industry that is building the American dream of home ownership. And we're leading the country out of a very dark period, economically and otherwise. But we've got to work together. We got to work together with our regulatory partners, and we got to have some patience and some flexibility. I wanted to bring some stats to your awareness in case you weren't in the know. Last month, Hillsborough County issued 600 single-family permits, and in Pasco, that number was 894. They're currently reviewing about 370 site plans. This is in Pasco, and that's not including MPUDs or rezonings. So we're all working hard to meet this demand. It's wonderful, but we do need our regulatory partners to be patient with us as well, because at the end of the day, we're all here to prosper and have a better community. But enough about that. I am very proud to introduce 2021 TBBA President and Homes by West Bay Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Brian Bullock. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks everybody for coming today. I'm excited to hear what everybody has to say. You know, here in Florida and Tampa, we're experiencing, you know, really it's kind of unique times for what we do. You know, on the positive side, we're seeing waves of migration into the state of Florida, and specifically the Tampa Bay area, really unlike we've ever seen. You know, the area is growing. The demand for housing is as strong as I've ever seen it. But with that, we also have a lot of challenges that we have to come together and work together to overcome. And, you know, a few of those are, you know, just starting with low inventory. Right now, there's about half a month of supply of active listings on the ground in the Tampa Bay area. That's just, you know, I've never seen it that low. There's about 25% of what the normal listing activity is in the market. And, you know, just as a side note, you know, it's not just like buying homes. My daughter is a junior at USF St. Pete, and she's in the nursing program there. And she just called me this weekend to tell me that her landlord let her know that her rent's going to be going up 36% when we go to sign the new lease. So housing is an issue for everybody. And, you know, fortunately, we're in a great industry to do that. But, you know, we have some things we need to deal with. And, you know, another one is future lot supply. Hillsborough County is, you know, there's just not much going on. We're fighting uphill battles and challenges every day just to get people to listen and work with us to move projects along so we can get lots on the ground and build more houses for people. Material costs continue to run on all of us. You know, we're all aware of what lumber and plywood costs have done, and you know, as well as just everything else. We're really starting to see the effects of cost increases hit all of us. And you know, honestly, the material costs are an issue, but even worse is the fact that just the availability of those materials is a problem. You know, we'll pay up to build houses and get things going, but you know, just the materials just aren't there to do it, which is slowing everybody down. You know, collectively, we have challenges that we have to face, and you know, locally, I really want to thank the governmental affairs people in our association that are advocating on our behalf with local governments. They're doing a fantastic job. They bust their tails to, you know, to go to those meetings and advocate for all of us here. And I really appreciate all the work that they're doing. But kind of getting into what we're doing, the challenges that we're facing aren't just specific to Tampa. We're part of a greater federation. And to hear about that, joining us from Washington, D.C. is Chuck Falk, our NAHB chairman. Chuck.
Thank you, Brian. And it's great to be here today with my family here in Tampa Bay. Some people don't know, I was the president, I think, Jennifer, in 1996, I was president of TBBA. It's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. It was a little while ago, yes.
But thank you for having me here today. And many of us are the issues that we're facing as builders in and around Tampa are being experienced by builders all over the country. The biggest problem right now, namely lumber prices. And as you said, Brian, material availability, appliance shortages, and the supply chain disruptions. There's no easy answers for it. Builders in red states and blue states alike are taking a hit on their businesses, trying to adapt to this new building environment. And the unprecedented demand that's coming to us right now. It's hard to believe that we could be so busy, but have such challenges right now. Who would ever believe this? And we're having to make big changes and having to rise above these challenges the best way we can. And, you know, as we remember, when COVID hit a little over a year ago, the economy started to dip. The uncertainty was there. Our industry was named an essential industry. And so we rised up and we began to take the nation's economy on our back and bring the economy back. As a single industry, we carried the nation's economy on our back. So in today, the nation's economy and the impact of lumber shortage and supply chains, the slowdowns are just having a tremendous effect on our industry. And it's going to have an effect on our economy. It's going to happen. For much of 2020, many industries struggled. Home building led the economy. And the low interest rates and the high demand is what helped us get there. And we began to redefine what home meant. You know, homes became our sanctuary, our offices, our gyms, more so than ever before. So if people weren't ready to buy a new house or build a new house, they were ready to add on to their house and create some space they needed, trying to understand what the new normal may be. And so today, many builders, remodelers are struggling to keep up. We have so many customers that wanted to build new homes and wanted to have various elements like offices and things added to their existing homes. But since September, lumber prices have been a tremendous damper on our industry. And as Jennifer said, you know, we're building the American dream. And to get down into to drill down into some of the issues here with the lumber issue, we hear things like the demand is so high that prices are up. But I want to remind everybody, in 2005, we built 1.7 million houses nationwide. Last year, we built 1 million. So the demand in 2005 was greater than what it is today, possibly because we built 1.7 million houses that year. But today, lumber prices over that year are 300% higher than when the year we built 1.7 million houses. So it makes you just really try to understand where this is coming from. So what we've done, I mean, we realize now today, every home, the average home across the country has gone up $36,000 in price. Apartments have gone up $13,000 in price. So that every $1,000 that the house goes up in price, 154,000 people nationwide are pushed out of the market. And they can't have the American dream that Jennifer just mentioned. I've met with the Attorneys General Association. 42 of the 50 Attorneys General attended the meeting. I've met with Marcia Fudge, the new HUD Secretary, the Commerce Secretary, Raimondo. We're going to meet Monday. And yesterday, I spent an hour with Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Congress is beginning to act. It's starting to resonate. So we're not turning the ship around as quickly as we really need to. We want to. I mean, I'm a builder. I'm in the foxhole with you. I have a home I'm building for a family in Fishhawk Ranch right now. In November, I ordered the windows for that house. And as we sit here today, I don't have the windows. So the supply chain is falling apart, and we've got to do something. So we'll continue to fight up in DC for you. And I had a legislative meeting. I met with over 13 legislators a few weeks ago up in DC face to face for the first time in quite a while. It's beginning to resonate. But also we got to remember something that we kind of took our eye off the ball with workforce development. I have oversight at the Home Builders Institute in Washington that deals with workforce development and training for our labor force. And a year ago, that was my top priority. Today, lumber has taken that position. It's taken center stage, but we've got to continue to look at workforce development. We've got to train young people to bring them into our industry. For every 5 people we're losing today, whether it's retirement or for whatever reason that work in our industry, we're only replacing them with 2. So with a shorter workforce, it has an effect on time, it has an effect on quality, and it has an effect on price. So I'm going to continue to focus on that. We're going to, and I mentioned to Jennifer the other day and Congressman Franklin, Home Depot has given NEHB a grant to train military veterans who are exiting the military back into civilian life. And so we have training facilities at many bases around the country. And I'd like to get one of these training facilities set up with MacDill Air Force Base. So we're going to be working on that, trying to make that happen. But that problem hasn't gone away. So we're going to have to continue to work on that. And then one other thing, membership. As we all know, non-dues revenue is a big part of running our local associations, state associations, and especially the National Association. We had to cancel the International Builder Show, which put a tremendous hole in the budget in our federation in Washington, D.C. So we're having to work harder for membership. So I ask everybody to continue to pay attention to that. I know everyone's busy. We're losing a lot of associate members, and I'd like to bring a lot of those people back to our associations. So, let's keep that on our radar, and I'll be coming to you with a campaign where we can, at least everybody can bring 1 and 21. And if we can do that, we can get our roster back up to a full complement of the people we need with our political action efforts and our membership efforts throughout the country. And one thing that I did do in Washington, when I saw that the non-dues revenue events were being canceled with local associations throughout the country, I created a grant to help out a lot of the local associations who were suffering financially. But I'm proud to say that TBBA is doing a great job. Jennifer, you've shown great leadership at the Tampa Bay Builders Association. I want to compliment you on that because I see a lot of the locals around the country and how things are operated, and you're doing an outstanding job. And I'll be there to help you in the future. My fellow members and the leaders at TBBA, you guys have done an exceptional job over the past few years navigating through these uncharted waters. And I just want to tell everybody, just keep up the good work, and I'll keep working for you. And thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you for your leadership. You were TBBA president in 1996, but you've been involved in this association since way before that, and I'll just leave it at that. But I appreciate everything that you do. And folks, remember, we are in a state of emergency. And those terrible stories that I've been hearing about price gouging by lumber folks, not allowing the lumber to be taken off the truck unless you pay 2 or 3 times more. Please let me know about those stories so that I can work to help address that. And I'll certainly be sharing that with Chuck and other folks so that we can do a better job of making sure that this goes away. We just don't need this issue anymore. We need to be able to do what we do. And thanks again, Chuck, for everything that you do for all of us every single day. I know you're working hard, and it's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Jennifer.
So now, as we've been working at the local level with all of the local regulatory agencies, FHBA has been working hard for you in the legislative session. I am so pleased to have Dane Bennett. He is the Director of Governmental Affairs for Florida Home Builders Association. The legislative session just wrapped up, so you guys are going to get a sneak peek at what actually happened before things are off the presses and printed and distributed. So Dane, why don't you take a couple of minutes and tell us what happened in session, and thank you so much for all of your hard work.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you, Chairman Falk. Great to hear what's going on in DC as well, and enjoyed our conversation yesterday with Senator Rubio's staff. So like Jennifer said, we're coming straight out of legislative session. There is a special session taking place next week. So unfortunately, all the legislators will be back up here again, but they'll just be working on that Seminole Compact. So I was sitting here taking a moment, and I just started writing down all the representatives and senators from the Tampa Bay region that were instrumental this year in FHBA successes. And all of a sudden, I wrote down about a dozen because there's that many great legislators, great building advocates that are from the Tampa Bay region. I don't think there could be a better time for representation from Tampa. When you look at Speaker Chris Sprouse from Palm Harbor, you look at President Wilton Simpson from Trilby, all stakeholders in the Tampa Bay region and the Tampa Bay corridor. And then, you look at just great construction advocates from Representative Jackie Toledo to Representative Nick DeSigli over in Pinellas County, to have Senator Danny Burgess, Senator Jeff Brandis, and then even Senators Jim Boyd and Senators Joe Gruters down in Manatee and Sarasota County are all vested in the Tampa Bay region and all just great advocates. So I could go on and list about a dozen more, but it is a great time for the Tampa Bay region. Quick overview, this legislative session, there were 3,140 bills filed. Out of those 3,140, 275 passed. And that's less than 9%. Which was actually about 70 bills more that passed this year than last year. So what are some of these bills that are good for the construction industry? I'm probably just going to want to lead off with impact fee reform. Representative Nick DeSigli, House Bill 337, and Senator Joe Gruters, the Senate co-sponsor, sponsored this legislation really after what we saw in Hillsborough County last year. As you know, last May, Hillsborough County looked to increase impact fees by 100% and then adopted 80% of that increase within a 7-month time period, effectively going into effect January 1 of this year, increasing mobility fees by 80%. That became kind of the genesis of House Bill 337. We saw 300% increases down in Punta Gorda. And then once this bill was filed, we actually saw overnight 160% increases in Orange County in a response to this bill. And that was effectively moving transportation fees in Orange County from approximately $4,000 to $12,000 and gave builders and developers only 3 months to plan for those increases. So this was an absolute priority for FHBA. The bill was initially filed with a 3% cap, mostly as a starting point and a way to really get a conversation going and to bring attention to this. How the bill turned out is that what we have is essentially a phase-in process moving forward. So any large increases that are between 0 and 25% must be phased in over 2 years. So effectively no greater than 12.5% annually. Any increases between 25 and 50% must be increased over a 4-year span, and there can be no increases greater than 50% over a 4-year span. We think that will help slow down what we're seeing across the state. Sumter County did an 80% increase just 2 months ago. One of the best things about this bill is once we got it moving and we got legislators around the state vested in the issue, and they started seeing some of these large increases that were popping up across the state, we were able to get a retroactivity to January 1. So some of these increases that were popping up in spite of this bill now will essentially have to be washed away. There is a relief valve. We didn't want to run into an issue with moratoriums across the state. Obviously, there are plenty of cities and counties that do impact these the right way. We didn't want to punish the good actors, the good cities, the good counties, and most importantly, the cities and counties that don't have impact fees right now. So there is a relief valve, but they had to show an extraordinary need. The study has to be tailored around that extraordinary circumstance that would allow them to circumvent this phase-in process. And then also there needs to be 2/3 vote of the county commission. So that relief valve is in place, but the point of the relief valve and what we wanted to make sure was statutory clear is that this exception does not become the rule moving forward. So you like to make it as complicated as possible to go around those phase-in provisions, but the whole purpose of this bill was to have predictability in the marketplace, to get away from these 100, 150, 300% increases that were taking place in a matter of a year, and to really let cities and counties know that it's their responsibility to effectively plan. So we feel very good about the impact fee bill. Also, in House Bill 337 was the definition of infrastructure. We have examples, not in Hillsborough County and not from my understanding from your region, but for example, in Collier County, where they have jail impact fees of $500, general government impact fees that are approaching 1,000, 2 park impact fees. Down in Sarasota County, they have a justice impact fee that's $1,009 for a 2,000 square foot home, single family, 3-2 detached. So these are kind of the broad range of impact fees that we were seeing. So this bill does define infrastructure. It comes up with a set definition of what public facilities are. And the whole purpose of that is to just ensure that impact fees are spent on true capital projects, true brick and mortar infrastructure. And we think that bill, without a doubt, will do this. The last part of the impact fee bill, well, there's many parts, but the third main part of the impact fee bill is ensuring that any additional exactions or demands on a developer or a builder are credited towards that like impact fee. For example, right now with school impact fees, if a developer dedicates land for a school, that must be credited towards the school impact fees for that development. The same wasn't said for parks. The same wasn't said for transportations. So this opens up that statute to all types of impact fees, ensures that essentially the new home isn't being taxed twice for the same infrastructure. So we're very excited about House Bill 337. Once again, Representative DeSigley in St. Petersburg, and then Senator Joe Gruters from the Sarasota area were instrumental in carrying that. And I'm probably going over, Jennifer, so just cut me off whenever you need to. The next one I want to talk about was House Bill 401, Florida Building Codes. We had examples across the state of different local enforcement authorities that were requiring a signed contract between a builder and a home buyer for the purpose of the building permit application. It's not the case in every jurisdiction, but we certainly didn't like that. We even had examples of a county that was actually posting the signed contract in their job site permit boxes. So we were trying to get away from that. We didn't think there was any reason why the city or county needed that proprietary information for the purposes of pulling that building permit. So this legislation, House Bill 401, prevents a city or county from requiring that. If a builder would still like to provide that information, they can, but it cannot be required. Also, we have local technical amendment process to the Florida Building Code. That process is in statute, and it's for any city or county that sees a specific need to enhance the building code to file that local technical amendment. What we were seeing in examples all throughout there, Orange County, Hillsborough County is always my ground zero. Orange County was trying to mandate in their land development regulations that every new single family home with a garage had to be EV ready. Every new build had to be EV ready. What that meant is your standard 240 volt for every vehicle parking spot in that garage. Obviously, this is a code issue. We were able to jump on the call. We had those discussions with their chief sustainability director for the city of Orlando, excuse me, not Orange County. And we basically told them that this is a local technical amendment process. It cannot be put in a land development regulation. It needs to go through the Florida Building Commission. They need to be made aware, and you need to cite a specific need. Well, that was all great. The problem is cities and counties across the state are putting these codes into land development regulations. So what this bill does, it allows any substantially affected party to basically contest those provisions and file a petition to the Florida Building Commission for a non-binding opinion of whether or not it is a code matter. Not necessarily the teeth that we want, but it gets the conversation starting that cities and counties can't put building codes in their land development regulations. The final part of that bill that's worth mentioning is we had certain jurisdictions that were using preliminary FEMA maps for the land development regulations. This bill bars cities and counties from using preliminary FEMA maps for the purpose of developing any type of land development regulation. And then I will end, because I don't want to go too much. Well, excuse me, construction permits by Representative Will Robinson from Manatee County. That bill was basically a genesis from the Regulatory Reform Subcommittee. Former past president of FHBA, Bill Truex, came up and testified in front of the House Regulatory Reform Committee and really gave them a lot of the issues this past summer that we were seeing with holding up building permit applications. One of the biggest problems we see across the state is that there's no teeth to that 30-day shot clock. And often, the building permit applications will take longer than 30 days, but there's no penalties in place for those cities and counties. So this applies a penalty to a city and county or to a building department who fails to turn around a building permit application within 30 days, applying a 10% refund to the fee for every business day once they get past 30 days. Like I said, we would like to make that 15 days, but the fact that we had a shot clock and there was no penalty, that this is a step in the right direction. And it's really a testament to President Simpson, Speaker Sprouse, and their initiative of really having these roundtable discussions with the Regulatory Reform Committee and inviting, past presidents of FHBA to come in and kind of start the conversation. So I will end with the preemption of restriction over utility services. This was a great bill, House Bill 919 by Representative Tom Cowell, who's just north of you guys. This is something that started out in, of course, Berkeley, California, where we had local regulations preventing natural gas hookups to new homes. We saw very similar resolutions in the city of Tampa, down there in Miami-Dade County. This bill, House Bill 919, did pass, like all the bills that I mentioned today, and will prevent local governments from restricting any type of energy source, particularly natural gas hookups to new and existing homes. So I could go on and on and on, but it was a very successful year. So much of it due to a team effort with all the local associations. I promise you, I was on the phone with Jennifer anytime I could, and anytime we had a representative from the Tampa Bay area or a senator from the Tampa Bay area that was about to hear one of these bills in committee. So it is without a doubt a team effort of all the 24 local associations, the FHB PAC, the local PACs, the 1,000 clubs. So a great session, and happy to answer any questions via email or via chat. But Jennifer, thank you so much for having us today.
Absolutely. Thank you. As a matter of fact, there have been some impact fees, like the city of Clearwater that has an art impact fee. So we're certainly not immune. And thank you so much for all of your hard work. The impact fee bill alone is certainly going to be very helpful to the industry, because in Hillsborough County, they did pass a parks impact fee that is substantially higher. But now that we know that we're not also going to have to build parks in our communities, in addition to that, that might be helpful. And bottom line, it streamlines the process and provides us with certainty. And that's what we want to do. So thank you so much, Dane. And stay tuned, guys. We will be putting together a legislative wrap up that is more in depth. That will probably be in person as well as virtual. We will do something soon and we will get that out to you. But right now, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Leslie Deutsch with John Burns. Hi, good morning. How are you?
Good. Hi.
Good. Well, we know the market's hot, but tell us a little bit more about what's going on.
Sure. No, everything that was said here today is clearly what's happening in the market. And I think what I'll do is I'll share my screen and give you some data and some facts and some analytics to back all of that. So give me 1 second.
Absolutely.
All right. Can you see it okay? All right.
Yep. Now we got it.
Okay, great. So I'm going to give a quick overview here on where we see the market today. And just for those of you who don't know who we are, and I think more important than ever right now is to understand our perspective. So we are an independent research company. We have a lot of really interesting clients, and we've been tapping into our client base, and I show you some here to really understand all the different dynamics. Building products, I know the lumber came along. One of these days we'll have our building products expert, Tim, come on. He actually lives in a treehouse and worked at a lumber company, and he knows the insides and outsides of the lumber industry incredibly well, things that I never would have thought of. So we do that. We have home builders, developers, private equity groups, and all of that gives us a ton of great perspective. So hopefully I'll be able to share some of it with you today. We've been having a lot of different conferences where we bring all these people together and we kind of figure out how the lumber is going to impact the housing market and how the private equity and the capital flowing into the apartments is going to impact the future development. So hopefully I'll be able to put a lot of what's happening into numbers and analytics today. And then of course, end with two things. One, what keeps me up at night, real estate speaking, and two, what are the opportunities? So let's get going. We're clearly here in the high risk and high reward part of the cycle. This is where a lot of money is made. Typically, there's a lot going on, so we'll dive right in. Our economy, and I'm starting high level at the US level, is really recovering, which is incredible. We've gotten 62% of jobs lost since February. So what you can see here is the jobs by category. So obviously leisure and hospitality had the most job losses since last February, but we're really starting to see a very strong comeback across the board. And what this is doing is it's allowing more income to flow to, wage increases, and we're really starting to improve the US economy. This is absolutely on the right track. In addition to that, the government stimulus has helped out a lot. This was referred to as well. The black line you can see across here is the median weekly wage. And the median weekly wage, even if you don't have a job, has been held up dramatically, really from government stimulus and unemployment insurance. So this is by state across the country. And most people are making exactly what they made prior to losing their jobs. And that's been a big help to the economy. It's also been a bit difficult to get people to come back to work, especially in the leisure and hospitality, and the lumber industry is a good example of that, where you make more sitting at home and not working. So this is a bit of a challenge here, but it's also really helped the economy start and helped people kind of last through this pandemic. There are jobs out there, and that's really, really important. This is the highest level of job openings we've had since 2019. So there are jobs available. So it will be real interesting to see when a lot of the unemployment comes out ends around Labor Day, whether the jobs start to pick up again. And this is a theory that we've been playing with for a long time. Now, this is over the US, but we really think what's happening and what's happened during the pandemic and what's causing a lot of the housing demand, both rental and for sale, is household formations. So we're trying to find other ways of looking at household formations. This is the rolling 12-month utility customers. Look at the rise in basically the turn-ons and the increases in utility customers. And that usually indicates a very, very strong, another households being formed. You need to set your electricity bill. So we have this theory and we're trying to prove it out that the growth in household formations, yes, everyone's considering how they live and where they want to live, but you're also having people form new households. You're having people leave rental apartments. You're having divorces. You're having children leaving their homes. So I think that's also causing some of this really strong demand. And this is just a look across the US, just to give you a sense. The dark green and green is like a very, very strong housing market, which means you're seeing home price appreciation, rapid home price appreciation, minimal supply. This is kind of a broken record at this point. Really, most markets across all markets across the country are seeing home price appreciation. Just depends on how much, but you can see all of Florida down here in a very, very dark green territory, which is really indicating that we're seeing very, very strong price appreciation, very, very strong markets. I think Brian alluded to this one. There is no supply in this market. This is a great way of looking at it. We survey about 25% of all new home sales, new home builders across the country, 25% of the stock. So this represents really a quarter of all of the new home sales. Look at the number of unsold finished new homes per community. So if you walk into a new home community and you want to buy a house today, there's nothing there for you. So it's down to 0.33. Typical builders like to see about 1.5 to 2 homes per community so they can have something in inventory when people walk in. This has been a serious problem, and it's part of the reason that home prices have been rising. I'm not picking on Mattamy here, and I did not use a Tampa builder just because of this, but this is a great example, and this is true in Tampa as well. Mattamy has 12 communities in Jacksonville. If you go onto this is just from their website. How many do they have available for you to look at? Absolutely none. So that's a real big problem on the new home side. And again, builders are trying to counteract that by buying more land and getting more inventory. But today, if you were relocating to Jacksonville and wanted a Mattamy home, there is nothing available for you. So I'm not picking on Mattamy again, that is really across all builders. Instead, you can go to American Homes for Rent website and they have 89 homes listed for move-in right away. So this is what's fueling some of the rental industry as well, because there's really no homes on the market on the for sale side. And a lot of people are choosing to rent because they really can't buy a home right now. So this is something I didn't expect. A lot of things I didn't expect. When the home sales are so strong and there's no inventory, people have to rent. So now what's happening is on the rental side, you're starting to see massive increases in rent, just like Brian had mentioned earlier, in rental appreciation, because you're also getting the future home buyers into your unit as well. So the builders are out there. This is starts from our survey. Look at the percent increase year over year of single family home starts. I mean, only the Midwest isn't doubling, and Florida is more than doubling. Only the Midwest isn't at 100%, but really across the country, and even places like California, you're starting to see as much new construction as possible. And then we go into cost increases, and this comes from our building products division. Just to give you a sense, and this is a survey that we did, so in the first quarter of 2021, but this is a great visual because it gives you a sense of some of the increases that's happening across the country. So things like cabinets and appliances and flooring are up about 6% year over year. And then you get to more expensive insulation, drywall, roofing is up about 8%. Framing, windows, doors, trim, 10 to 11%. And you know where this is going, right? The lumber is up 100% year over year. So there's a ton of cost increases going into these homes. And what really does that mean? It means that the builders have to put some of these costs into the price of the home, and they haven't gotten a lot of pushback yet, but I think that's going to come. So you've got, gives you a sense of affordability, which is really going to be a concern going forward. The blue line gives you a sense of where we think home prices are going to go, again, on high level US. And look at the income growth. It's just not going to keep pace with the home price appreciation. So it's really going to come to a head, and it hasn't yet. People have saved a ton of money over the last year. The government has helped with the extra stimulus, but this will be a very big concern going forward. Okay, I'm going to move to Tampa. Tampa is still, it's funny, when I did this update in January, Tampa didn't change. It was still very positive. So Tampa does continue to shine. I just put up here, this is some of the job growth. The orange bars are high wage jobs. So look, this is professional services, financial activities. You're starting to see growth in higher wage jobs, which is great for the housing market. Permit issuance is getting higher. It is not as high as we want it to be. And I hear some of the local problems that are associated with the growth of permit issuance, but it is getting there, and builders are trying everything they can to get land and homes built. But what's happening is there's not a lot of land left. And what this shows you is in certain places, this shows you the community count. So if you go to a builder's website and see how many communities they have, which divides it, public builders are in blue in the bottom and private builders are in red. But what it's showing you is the number of open communities are declining every single quarter. And because there's just no inventory left because of the strong demand. So this is another reason that's going to point to higher home prices. And not only do builders have to contend with less land, they've got a new competitor in town, and that's the build for rent operators. Now we do a survey every quarter of landowners to see who's buying finished lots and paper lots and raw land. This gives you across the country, this is the percentage of build for rent operators that are buying, we'll use the finished lots, for example. So this is in Florida. So 4% seems like a small number, but that number didn't exist a year ago and 2 years ago. So they're starting to compete, and they are out there. And I would argue that Tampa and Orlando are seeing higher percentages nearly every day. So I'm hearing that from the builders. I'm hearing it from the build to rent operators. It's like another whole industry that's competing for the land. To give you a sense of where they are, this is an example of, this is Tampa's build for rent communities. It doesn't look like a whole lot today, just based on our database and where we think this is happening. So watch this carefully. This is today. This is tomorrow. These are future communities coming up. So there's going to be a lot more supply coming into the build for rent space, and they will compete, especially on the land side with the builders. There's no resale inventory. Again, Tampa has less than 1 month of existing months of supply on the market right now. So 0.5, so there is really nothing out there. So we talked about the new homes, the resale is just as tight. And so all of this, like I said, leads to home price appreciation. And the resale is on the bottom and the new homes are at the top. You can see the rise, especially on the resale side. The new homes are going up, and they're not going up quite as fast on this, like you're looking here, primarily because the new homes are a mix of what's being sold. So builders are trying to shift to smaller and more affordable homes, which makes it look like the median home price isn't going up that fast, but they really are. So, and you'll see that, and I'll show some of our forecasts right next. And then what we're calling the rise of the frontier markets, right? So you're dying for affordability, you're dying for homes that people can afford. So now these are markets that have always existed. They've been relatively rural. Some of them are very comfortable with being that way, but now they are booming. They're booming because that is where the land is available. So just to give you a sense of what's happening all across the country, builders are moving further and further out. And it's really fascinating to see where everybody used to be focused on Nashville. Now they're looking at Knoxville. Instead of Charlotte, they're looking at Greenville. Tampa, they're looking at Lakeland. So these markets are really starting, these second tier, if you will, markets are really moving into the first tier, because that's where the land's available and where homes can be a little bit more affordable. So I'll run through our forecast here. We'll run through our forecast for 2021. I put a red box around it if it substantially changed from January when I did this update last. So Tampa employment, we expect to be up almost 3%. That's double what we had in January. The jobs are coming back and they're coming back fast. That's a very good sign. Then the income is up 1.9%. Again, not nearly what you'll see some of the home prices, but the income is increasing. Affordability, this is 0 to 10, 10 being the worst affordability in a market based on the median incomes in the market. So we're at 9.5 by the end of the year, bringing our housing cost to income ratio to 32%. Total permits. So this was an interesting one. We had declining multifamily permits because we thought when people started moving out of rentals, they would move into houses. But the lack of houses are really increasing the rental construction. So we do expect permits to rise 14%. Single family, we've increased that significantly as builders look to find more land. New homes, this is a tough one to swallow. So our forecast for Tampa's market this year in 2021 will be for median new home prices to go up 20%. And that number is humongous, but I will tell you that based on some of the feedback we're getting, home prices are already up 10 to 12% through the first half of the year, really through the first quarter. So you're really going to start to see that, and that is really going to put a crunch on affordability. Resale market is the same story, and we talked about this, but median resale prices we're expecting up 18%. So again, this is going to be a really interesting year in terms of affordability. I think I included as well apartment rents. We had them declining in January. Again, this was a big surprise to me. But apartment rents are going up 7% because really there's no, again, like I said, there's no housing. So people are choosing to rent. And finally, single family homes. This is single family rentals. We do expect them to be up 7% as well. And we're really seeing some strong appreciation in that sector as well. So those are the numbers. If you'd like to know what keeps me up at night, obviously I've alluded to it. It is clearly the affordability crunch. We keep pushing it aside and pushing it aside because this time around, affordability wasn't as big a concern. We had low interest rates. We had the best savings rates we've ever had. And then we had government stimulus, but the mortgage rates are starting to creep up. The stimulus is slowing down a little bit. And people are coming back into the market. They're going to start saving, they're going to start spending money on vacations and on other things besides their home. So I think this affordability index will start to come into play and be a big concern. The other one, and I thought about this last night, this 91%, this is an average sales rate per community. It's up 91% because look at the month, we're in April, so it's a really tough comp to back to April 2020. So you can ignore the 91%, but look at all the increase in the year-over-year increases in sales rates. My concern here is that if you look at the sales today and forecast that for tomorrow, that is going to be a very difficult thing to forecast. So you really have to start looking at where the sales were, who's buying the homes, and really start to look at your future sales in a very different perspective. I don't think that the demand and the activity is sustainable the way it is today. I do think it will be very strong, but not quite as sustainable. So just be forewarned as you're buying land that maybe this 40% increase that you've seen in new home prices isn't the new norm, that it might be changing over time. So that's something really to worry about. This was touched on, I won't even spend too much time on it, but local municipalities are putting impact fees, are putting moratoriums. There's all kinds of local government issues that are going to come up. And what's really fascinating at the start of this is one of the predictions I had is the governments that are going to be open to development, the governments that are going to be willing to work with the developers and the builders are the cities that are going to thrive. And if you look across the country, and Pasco County to some extent, but you see Port St. Lucie, you see Melbourne, you're even seeing markets like Vero Beach and Wildwood. There's these small markets across the country, across the state, that are really, really attracting a ton of new investment, ton of new residents because the governments are working really well. So I think going forward, it's going to be critical that the governments help some of this development that's desperately needed to almost stop the appreciation. And finally, the investors always keep me up at night. We did a big study on all the investors out there, and some of them are great. All of them are have their purpose, and they're all different. And some of them are lending money, some of them are giving money, some of them are building homes. But it's something to watch out for. Housing is such a positive story right now that it has attracted tons of new capital. A lot of it has never been in the housing market before. So again, it's something to watch very, very carefully. There will be success stories and there will be failures. So just be careful who you put your horse and cart with. And finally, can't end with what keeps me up at night. So I'll end on a positive note. This is what we call the light. My partner Ken Perlman and I write this every week, and we try to find continued opportunities in the housing market. So I'm just going to highlight a few of them because it makes me happy to think every week of what's the future holds. One of them, which I found was really interesting, is if you look at the US population, look, I've highlighted here, look at the 27 to 31-year-olds. That's a huge, huge segment of the population. And the average age to buy a home right now is 33. So this is a great target segment right now going into the housing market. May not have bought their house quite yet, but they are forming their families and they're out there. And they are the largest segment right now of the US population. So something to watch there for sure. Health and wellness. This is something we wrote about a couple months ago, but just to give you a sense, this is going to be critical in new home construction, new apartments, everything. People have woken up to new healthy way of living, whether it's bikes or trails or lakes or what have you. But that's a really important element, and new buyers and new renters coming in are looking around to see, where can I walk? Where are the outdoors? This is a new phenomenon that's really been accelerated by the pandemic. Single family rentals. Oh, sorry. The last point was diversify, right? So now is the time not to just do what you've done always in the past, because something isn't going, with the home price appreciation, with the affordability, with all of these things, everyone keeps saying, when's it going to end? When's it going to end? But look to the future and say it is time to diversify. Single family rentals is a diversification tool that a lot of people are taking, a lot of builders are looking at right now. It offers downside protection from the rising mortgage rates. Smaller product, maybe it's time to start considering smaller product to help with affordability. Just diversify your current offering base. Now I put the Southeast up here because maybe it's time to expand to new geographies, right? Not all markets that really act the same. So it's something to take into consideration now, just as you look to the future. And that's it. I think I did it in enough time. I'm happy to take, I didn't look at the questions, but I will stop there. And if anyone has any specific questions, I'll turn it back to Jennifer. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Leslie. So now we have, looks like, one question. What is the estimated lag time for inventory rebound?
It's a good question. It varies is the terrible non-definitive answer. It certainly varies, but I would argue that 2021, you're not going to see a huge increase in inventory. You'll start to see it probably mid-2022. Just on a larger scale, generally speaking. I think by the mid to end of 2022 is when you're going to start to see a lot more supply hit the market in specific markets.
Okay. And as a reminder to those of you that are shy, we do have the question and answer area available, and that's available for any of our speakers. So if you have a question, please type it in now. And I'm not seeing any more.
And if anyone wants this presentation, I'm happy to share it. You can either send myself or Jennifer an email, and we can do that.
Absolutely, and we will be sending the link out later this afternoon, and we always have that available. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Again, Jennifer Motzinger with the Builders Association, and I hope to see you at 5 o'clock at Armature Works. And thank you so much. Take care, everybody.